All right, so now we're actually in Xcode. Our project has been built, and what we're going to do now is just go over the interface, which is probably the most confusing part of Xcode. So Xcode is an IDE, an integrated development environment. If you've used something like maybe you used Eclipse for Java, or processing, or Arduino, or Android Studio, all those different things are different integrated development environments, and this environment is quite a bit different in my experience, and can take a bit of adjustment to get used to. But I also would argue that this is probably the most powerful integrated development environment that I've ever actually used. So immediately, you're going to see that we kind of have three panels. On the far left, we have the navigator. In the center, we have the central panel. This is just kind of the primary area that we work in. And on the right, we have the inspector. These these two panels on the side and a bottom panel can be turned on and off in the upper right-hand corner. So as I click these, it will close those and reopen them. This is great because your screen real estate is a must in this, and it's very valuable, and it's going to be taken up by a lot of different things. So you can hide the navigator once you don't need it, and hide the inspector once you don't need that. The bottom is the debugger in the console, which is just like the one in Playgrounds. So I'm going to turn on my navigator and turn on my inspector. Next to that, we have three different buttons. The far left button basically means that we're going to see one thing at a time. So as I click through different files in the navigator, I'm going to see one file at a time. I'm going to click back on my app's name to get back to this screen. If I click this button right here, this middle button, this is the assistant editor, which is going to let you view two files at a time. So if I view a view controller file, for example, it's going to show me the view controller on one side and then another file on another side. We can also, I'll go over that a little bit more, but you can kind of select how this shows, and it'll dynamically adjust based on what you have selected. I'm just going to go back to one view. And then this last option is the version editor. This is used for source control purposes, especially whenever you're working on teams. So if you have your project synced with GitHub, and let's say you're working with a team and they're editing, you can view the changes that have been made. It'll kind of show them side by side. We don't have any real changes because it's hasn't been initialized yet. You can see the authors, people can leave comments, things like that. So this is actually a really cool view to use. Next to that, we have a button that changes based on context. Right now, this is the code library button. Whenever I click it, it'll bring up a bunch of things. Not going to worry about that too much now. We'll get into that in a future video. And if I was on a different interface, say my main storyboard interface, it changes to the object toolbar. So we'll talk about all these things a little bit more in detail. I just want you to be aware of these things. So far right, we have ability to hide and show different panels. Middle, we have the assistant editor and the single editor and the version editor. And then to the left of that, we have basically a libraries button. At the top, we have a status bar that's telling us how things are running whenever we actually hit play, and if there's errors, etc. To the left of that, we have one of the most important parts of Xcode, and one of the most powerful aspects of Xcode, which is its ability to run a simulator. A simulator simulates true devices on your device. So what that means is if I click this right here where it says iPhone XR, I can choose different devices, and it will allow me to run versions of my app on those devices. If I also sync a device with this computer and enable developer mode, such as my iPad right here, I can wirelessly, or wired if I want to do that for whatever reason, run my applications. So for example, I have a iPad Mini 4, I believe, and I will run simple iPad applications on that device, and it will send them from here. I can just hit play. It'll Bluetooth send it to, or AirDrop it, I guess technically, to the iPad and run it on the device. So this is really cool if you have an Apple device that you want to run these applications on for testing purposes. Next to that, we have schemes, which we're not going to get into in this class. We have a stop button and a play button, and this starts and stops the simulator. So right now I have an iPhone XR application. I can see that from the interface, and also down here it says view as iPhone XR. And I've selected iPhone XR from this menu, and I'm going to hit play, and we are going to run simulator. Now this may take a very long time if you're on a slower, older computer, or it may take a very short time. Just kind of depends. But what you'll see is in the background, eventually it will run a fully featured application on your device that you picked in Simulator. So Simulator is a separate program from Xcode. It's running up here in my top bar. I can see Simulator, and you can change different features. There's like adding keyboards, etc., things like that. Works just like your normal device. If I open it up, I can pull it, which is how you use an iPhone XR. If I hold down Option, it does multi-touch, so it simulates them using two fingers, so I could like pinch, zoom, or twist or do whatever. Notifications, all that kind of stuff. Really, really, really powerful tool. Simulator's amazing. At any time I can hit stop and my application will stop running on Simulator, but I want to point this out. It is just stopping it from running. It does not close out of Simulator. Simulator is a beast. This will drain your laptop's battery in a matter of minutes. You are truly running an entire other operating system simultaneously. So you are running a fully spec'd out iPhone XR if you have this open. And if you keep building more and more for different simulations, you're going to have tons of these running. So it's always best case to just go up to Simulator and hit quit to close out a simulator. Okay, I think that's enough for this video. The next video, I'm going to jump into how all of these side panels work.